what is going on with this bid by the British Royal Rota, the British mainstream media, to ally Charles with Harry and Meghan Markle rather than Prince William, even as he finally hardened his stance this week, quite rightly too, and said, hell no, I'm not seeing my youngest son when he arrives in just a few days' time for this completely ludicrous legal battle with the Daily Mail, which, if there is any justice in the world, Harry will spectacularly lose. But this is going on everywhere. And one thing I found most fascinating this week is that it's even going on within the pages of the Sun newspaper. Now, I used to be the executive editor of the Sun newspaper. The Sun's editor, Victoria Newton, has always been closely allied with Prince William. But in recent weeks, they are increasingly siding with the Sussexes, increasingly taking stories directly from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And now their associate editor, Clemmy Moody, and again, I know how this works because I was at The Sun. Clemmy Moody is one of the closest people to the editor of The Sun, Victoria Newton, at that newspaper. And she effectively writes whatever Victoria Newton tells her to write. She's like one of the official voices of the newspaper.
Welcome back to Britain Royals Today. Tonight, we're examining a growing media narrative that has royal watchers divided. The renewed push by sections of the British press for a King Charles Prince Harry reconciliation, and the intense debate over what that would mean for Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Is this a genuine call for family unity, or a media storyline with deeper implications? We'll break it all down with royal journalist Tom Sykes of the Royalist Substack, separating verified reporting from speculation and asking who truly benefits from this sudden reunion push.
And this week, in a major piece which was plastered all over the Sun's website and in the newspaper, she said, listen up, Harry, now is the time to finally end your rift with Dad Charles once and for all. And she wrote, Harry, for all his aforementioned faults, is a very happily married family man. What? Are you serious? He is one of the least happily married men in the world. He's totally miserable in Montecito, and this is why he's looking for ways to get to the United Kingdom. So anyway, I was immediately like, okay, she's drunk the Sussex Kool-Aid here. Nor has he been photographed lying across the laps of nubile young women. So she's basically comparing him to Andrew. Harry's avios also pale into insignificance compared to Air Miles Andy. None of us are getting any younger. Life is short, and Charles has bravely and stoically been battling cancer. Recently, he revealed that thanks to the wonders of medical science and a dedicated care team, there is light at the end of the tunnel. A trip to California is not out of the question. Yes, it is. Charles is not going to break off, because this is another narrative the Sun has been pushing, right? And it has been the Sun that has been pushing this narrative that Charles should break off his state visit with Donald Trump to jet to Montecito. It's not going to happen. And this is designed specifically by the Sussexes to make Charles look bad and uncaring. She goes on, Harry, let's not forget, has repeatedly blamed the media for being central to the breakdown of his family relations. Well, here's the media publicly backing a restoration of relations. Harry, give the public something to celebrate in this horsey year, the reunion of all reunions. Again, the Sun's meant to be the newspaper of the people, okay? The Sun is meant to be in touch with the British public. The British public don't want this. There's no demand from the British public for King Charles to reunite with Harry. Indeed, one of the reasons that Prince William and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, are so popular is because of their hardline stance on not reuniting. So, Tom Sykes, something really weird is going on here, because we've also seen the Daily Mail this week stoke the war between Catherine and King Charles, which I will get to. But why, when Charles, I think, makes a good decision for once, not to see Harry, to toughen his light on his wayward youngest son, to say, I'm absolutely not getting involved when this ludicrous case with the Daily Mail is going on, you've got the Sun advocating for a full reunion. Where is this coming from? Why are they doing this?
Over recent weeks, multiple British outlets have amplified stories suggesting that a reunion between King Charles and Prince Harry is not only desirable, but urgent. Headlines speak of healing rifts, a father's legacy, a chance for unity before it's too late. Now, it's important to be clear. These are media interpretations, not official palace statements. There has been no confirmed announcement from Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, or Kensington Palace indicating a change in official relationships or roles. Yet the volume and tone of the coverage raise questions about why this narrative is being pushed so forcefully right now.
Well, it's a weird one, and I think you, as a former executive at the Sun, probably have much more insight than all the rest of us, Dan. I find it baffling and weird and strange because, like as you say, the sort of what British tabloids are meant to be, right? Is they're meant to be. Yes, they're ballsy and they're brash and they appeal to your emotions and all that, but they're also are the heritage is about holding powerful people to account, right? Isn't it? It's about using emotion and those kinds of things to create those fantastic headlines that do actually result in, you know, reflecting the opinion of the people. And it seems absolutely bizarre to me. I mean, that story. God knows why the Sun decided to run that story saying that Charles should head over to California. You know, I mean, that is a ridiculous narrative. I mean, I would point out that, you know, I noticed that Matt Wilkinson, who's Sun's royal reporter, is very good, has stayed a long way away from that story. It wasn't his name on it. It was the kind of US editor. And it does make me wonder, you know, that must be coming out of the US. And as we know, they don't have any media representation in the US anymore. So who would be responsible for delivering these cat-handed stories? Well, you'd suspect that it's coming from inside the house, right? That it's Meghan lifting the phone and saying, oh, he should come over and blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's that what I think is actually the really fascinating story, as you say, is this sense of Charles recalibrating and trying to catch up with the mistake after seeing Harry in September, right? Because that has been an unmitigated disaster. That decision to see Harry in September, it was completely unnecessary. There was this story in the Mail saying that he had decided to do it because that Charles agreed to the meeting because he was afraid that Harry would sort of emotionally weaponize it otherwise, by which I assume they're trying to say, well, if Charles hadn't agreed to see it, Harry would have been able to issue another statement saying, my father's so mean and awful and hasn't agreed to see me. Well, I mean, I understand that they need to recalibrate, that the king needs to recalibrate and give some kind of retrofit, some kind of excuse as to why he agreed to that meeting, which is a very stupid thing to do. But you know, that is the worst possible and least convincing excuse that you give. What, you were terrified Harry was going to make a statement? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you know, if you really want to give a reason, say, well, you know, we were concerned he was seriously ill at that time, and obviously things have got better. But he was seriously ill and he wanted to see his son in case something happened.
Well, I mean, the irony is Harry did make a statement. He made a statement to the Guardian newspaper literally hours after that meeting. And the statement to the Guardian newspaper was, I don't regret a thing. You know, I don't regret writing the autobiography Spare. So again, there's all of this revisionism from the Mail. And I believe this is coming from Buckingham Palace this week, you know, saying Charles now will only reunite if there's an apology. Well, where was that tough position back in October? Because we know that Harry used that meeting with the king to then press his case immediately to the British government in order to have his security restored. And it looks like he's probably going to get that, which causes a whole load of other issues. But I just think, what was the point in having that meeting without an apology?
Critics of this coverage argue that the reconciliation framing often sidelines Prince William and Catherine, portraying them as obstacles to unity, or omitting their perspective entirely. That's where controversy begins. Supporters of the Prince and Princess of Wales point out, William is the heir to the throne, responsible for the monarchy's future stability. Catherine remains one of the most trusted and popular figures in public polling. Any reconciliation would inevitably affect the institution, not just personal relationships. Yet many media narratives focus almost exclusively on Charles and Harry, leaving audiences to infer tension elsewhere without concrete evidence. That gap between reporting and implication is what fuels public backlash.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Dan. And I think that the point is that they've now realized that it was a huge strategic mistake and that it really angered and annoyed the people, you know? And
Yeah.
I mean, don't
But William was
forget,
telling
right?
them that. That's
Right,
what's so
exactly. So,
frustrating. It's like
and
William
what
was
they've
literally
seen,
saying, "Don't do it, Papa."
William
I
was
mean, probably
saying,
via the courtiers, but you know what I mean.
well, not just via the courtiers. I mean, he went to great pains to travel to the far end of the kingdom, you know, when Harry was there. So it was pretty obvious what he thought of his father's decision to meet with his brother. And I think what is really interesting to me is how popular and how much people approve of William's hard line. And I think what you're seeing, frankly, is a sort of attempt to recalibrate by the King's office that they've realized that this is actually a mistake to take this very soft line on Harry. I think what's really interesting now is this just a load more PR spin that's been fed to, you know, the Mail, and they write a story saying he's absolutely, you know, the meeting meant nothing. He only did it because he was forced into it, and you know, nothing's going to happen until Harry apologizes. Does Charles now actually stick to that position, in which case he starts to earn back our respect? Or actually, what we all frankly know is going to happen is that Harry's going to get his security back and is going to be back in Buckingham Palace before you can say Jack Robinson, in my opinion.
Thing is, Tom, they just get it wrong so often, Buckingham Palace. And this week again, a huge error and misjudgment, in my view, which is deciding to go after Catherine, the Princess of Wales, because of a Times Magazine cover feature, which included the cover line. There it is. Arise, Queen Kate. Now, to suggest for even a millisecond that Kensington Palace or Catherine herself would have had anything to do with that cover line is ludicrous. Firstly, by the way, Tom, probably the thing that annoyed Kensington Palace most is that it was Arise Queen Kate. You know, she's going to be Queen Catherine, and that's something that's actually really important to William and Catherine. So I don't think they were behind the cover line at all. But as you wrote in The Royalist, this was something that really annoyed Charles, and you know, he's jealous about it and not happy that this was sort of like overshadowing Camilla. And then Amanda Platel is sent out in the Daily Mail. Now, again, because I also was a columnist at the Daily Mail, of course, I know how this works, because Tobin Andre, who's the courtier for King Charles, who you mentioned, the communications secretary, he used to be at the Daily Mail. I believe that this was all briefed because Amanda Platel has been the woman who has been leading the charge in recent months against Catherine and William in the Daily Mail. And she seemed to suggest that Catherine's inner circle had somehow stabbed her in the back because of this cover piece in the Times. I mean, to me, the Times Magazine piece was just really anodyne. There really wasn't much to say about it. It wasn't particularly revelatory. And why on earth would Buckingham Palace think it's a good idea to sort of get out there in the public domain that Charles and Camilla are so thin-skinned and so threatened by Catherine and William that that sort of cover piece matters at all?
So yeah, okay, really interesting. So I was told earlier this week that it had really annoyed Charles, it had really irritated him. I think that it's particularly irritating to Charles because nobody's ever accepted Camilla as queen. So I think it particularly really stings because, you know, well, as I put there, Kate outshines Camilla by a country mile, and it's just completely obvious that we all, frankly, almost basically regard her. You know, look at the popularity ratings, and popularity isn't everything, of course, but you know, look at how much people have taken Kate to their hearts. And on the the broader point of why, and as you say, like, I mean, Amanda would have been a close colleague of Tobin's for probably well over a decade. I mean, maybe even 2 decades at this stage at the
Yes,
Mail.
totally.
The
Very
idea that
close to
this is
him. Very close to him.
right. So the idea that this is sort of just randomly Amanda's woken up and decided to write this is not
Yeah.
accurate.
When, by the way, she used to love William and Catherine.
Yes.
Until a
Yes.
few months ago, she was all pro
Yes.
William and Catherine and didn't like Harry and Meghan. So I know what's going on here.
But I think what it is I think that it's this sort of there's a sort of disregard really for how it actually looks or how it makes the public actually feel. This is much more about the internal comms of the palace, trying to say we've still got control of the Mail. Basically, we can still get our message into the Mail, so don't mess with us. And as I always say, like, don't forget that those offices of the separate offices within the royal households, they really compete against each other. They really, really hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. So, like, do you know what I mean? You always have to think when you see these things, who's going to be happy to have seen this and who's going to be annoyed to have seen this in the paper. And I thought that this story in the Times was very interesting. I thought that it was, obviously a lot of people had been authorized to speak by Kensington Palace, and I think they roughly knew the way that the story was going. As I said, as you say, and as I say, the idea that they had any input into the headline is as any journalist can tell you, is nonsense. But I did think that it reminded me a bit of the interview that William did with Roya Nikkhut when he said, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to be a new kind of king, and I think that actually if you put that interview with Roya together with The Reluctant Traveller with Eugene Levy, together with this, I do feel that actually we are starting to step into a world where William and Catherine are starting to say, do you know what, we are going to be the next king, queen, and if you won't give us the power, Dad, we're going to take it.
Totally. But it's because they know they're making the right decisions, though. I would argue that's the difference. So it's not power for power's sake. It's power because William knows that it was a mistake to have that farce going on with Andrew where he was sort of going to be Prince Andrew, but not. And then Charles had to U-turn a fortnight later. It's a farce to have, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, who have not stepped foot in this country for however many years, But there was an interesting part of your piece, Tom, after that wonderful visit of Catherine and William to the hospital this week, where you were very much praising Catherine and thought that she had, connected with the room and she was able to say, I know, in regards to the chemotherapy. But you do just think we said there's one note of caution. And you write, I think Catherine has always been careful about not overshadowing William, who has many of the Windsor characteristics, and as he has frequently joked himself, is hugely competitive. And you say she needs to be vigilant on that score. But right now it's working, and I feel he is allowing her the space to shine. Long may it continue. I know it worked because it wasn't rehearsed. It was utterly authentic. A simple truth from someone who has been through the worst and come back composed, generous, and luminous. This was catered and most effective and emotionally literate. It's why, whether others like it or not, she is now the most single important figure in the modern royal family. So you're saying Catherine just has to be careful that William is number one. I mean, I think she's always known that, Tom, but you think there's a risk that she starts overshadowing her husband?
Joining us now is Tom Sykes, royal journalist and editor of the Royalist Substack. With years of experience covering the monarchy, Tom helps contextualize what is genuinely being discussed behind palace walls, what is pure media projection, and how these narratives may impact the monarchy long term. This conversation isn't about taking sides, it's about understanding power, perception, and press dynamics in modern royal coverage.
I think that I think that she just needs to be really careful. And I think that part of the reason why the relationship and the professional relationship, if you like, between William and Catherine has always worked so well is that she, despite being incredibly popular from day one, like, do you remember that incredible picture at the garden party years ago where everybody is just looking in at Catherine? Absolutely everybody. There's like 1,000 people and they're all pointing at this one focal point. And I think she's always been incredibly sensitive to the fact that William is going to be the king, right? And that she's just married into the family and that not that, and I think she's gone beyond being embarrassed by the attention, and I think that what I hope is happening and what seems to me to be happening is that this is a true collaboration and that William has learned the errors of his father's ways, that he's learned the lesson the easy way. And he's not going to go back to being jealous and demanding that, he gets the same amount of attention. But it's really interesting, actually, if you look at that NHS, the hospital visit the other day, when they do the actual talk, it's all William talking. And Kate just sits there going,
Totally.
mm-hmm.
And that's what she wants.
And
That is what she has always said. She wants him to talk. That's she believes in that. It's the opposite of Meghan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I do think though that and this has definitely been I have been told this over the years, anybody who's worked this beat has got lots of stories of William's temper and all these kinds of stories and him being quite able to have that side of him that the Windsors
him being his father's
have.
son.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that part of the reason that the Catherine and William story is turning out to be such a success is because Catherine, I think, at every turn, at most turns, does try to refract the glory back on to William in a very, actually very sweet and very generous kind of way. And I do understand that these things that she does on her own, like the, this spring summer series, the Mother Nature series, William is consulted. William's in the loop. This is not just like she's going to go off and do something. It's not like there's no court of Queen Catherine. Do you know what I mean? Like going off and doing stuff and charging off and doing stuff of her own accord. So, and I think that's really important. And I think all I'm saying is hang on to it. I'm not saying that there's anything else going on. I'm not saying that William is jealous of his wife. I'm just saying hang on to it because whatever they're doing at the moment seems to be working incredibly well.
Definitely. Now, Tom, this week we also saw this devastating revelation in regards to, as ever, Meghan's business and the numbers for all the world to see on the website. Now, the spin from Montecito is that, the numbers are great and it's actually a brilliant thing that we have all of this stock. But they didn't deny the numbers. And a lot of really good people, including the Royal News Network, have been crunching the numbers and they show extraordinary things like she didn't sell one, what was it, the cider thing? The mulling kit, the cider mulling kit. She didn't sell one, Tom, in 24 hours. And then she's got 30,000 in the stockroom. She didn't sell one. So, I mean, did you buy into this spin at all coming from Montecito?
Well, it was an incredible, it was just the whole story was incredible because
totally great.
Fundamentally,
great story. And citizen journalism at its best too.
Yeah,
because it happened on Reddit.
At its best, along with your wickless candle, I may say, Dan.
Oh yes, I'm
Dan
going to come
did a very
to that.
funny piece
I'm
the
going
other
to
day,
come
which
to
you all
that.
saw about his wickless candle. But what I think more important really than is this that much stock? I mean, I don't know, right? I'm not in the jam selling business, but it seems to be like a lot of flower petals, right? It seems like a major haul of jam to have 220,000 jars of jam sitting in a warehouse. I mean, I don't know. I'm no expert, but I thought the whole thing these days was to try and, just in time and all that. But hey, whatever. What do I know? Like maybe it's true. Maybe there is all getting rolled out from massive international, jam lake is going to be decanted into these individual jars. I don't
Well, it
know.
needs to happen.
Right. But the point really is the incredible amateurishness of revealing your stock count on your website. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And it's like, I think it's so interesting because it this is not like an ordinary startup. It's being audited in real time by, people on Reddit, by me, by you, by we're keeping a close eye on this. And I find it incredible that they could allow such kind of basic slip up to happen. And I think what it really tells you is how sort of shonky the whole operation is. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like there's
totally.
nobody working for them anymore. Like, who even knows if they're really anything to do with this anymore? Or is
Totally.
it all
Well,
just franchised out
speaking
to,
of that,
Thousand Island Tea or whatever
yeah,
they're called?
yeah.
Oh, the candle. Let's see the
Here is the
candle.
wickless candle, right? And look, no, just so people can see both sides of it. You see, so there's no wick. Is literally there's no wick. But Tom, I loved your piece. I'm going to read it out because I just thought it was so funny. I thought it was so funny. Then we'll talk about it. So this was on Tom's brilliant royalist Substack, which you must subscribe to. And he wrote, Meghan ships wickless candle to her number one antagonist in a spectacular own goal. The Duchess of Sussex, one of Meghan's loudest media critics, has received a faulty product from her lifestyle line, a $65 as ever candle that on unboxing couldn't actually be lit. Dan Wootton, that's me, a former Sun journalist who broke the Megxit story in 2019 and has built a huge following on YouTube and Substack with his often scathing commentary about the Sussexes, said on social media that his fiancée bought him one of Meghan's as ever candles on eBay as a gag gift. The joke landed twice, first because it was an as ever candle at all, and then because when he opened the package, the candle had no wick. To be clear, Wootton's own telling frames this as a second-hand purchase, an eBay buy, not from a personal delivery from Montecito, but in the funhouse world of Sussex discourse, the distinction is almost beside the point. The symbolism is what matters. The Duchess of Sussex's carefully curated domestic fantasia colliding head-on with the sense that everything she touches is either overhyped or faintly absurd. The backstory between Wootton and the Sussex is not exactly warm. In Spare, Prince Harry wrote scathingly about Wootton's role in getting ahead of the couple's plans to step back from royal duties, Megxit before it was Megxit, and branded him a sad little man, a line Wootton has joyfully dined out on ever since. Wootton's faulty candle has arrived at a delicate moment for Meghan's brand. In the past few days, reports have ricocheted around the British press that a website glitch appeared to reveal huge stock levels across the as ever range, figures gleefully seized upon by critics as evidence that the marketing romance of scarcity is at a minimum elastic. Her team have said the huge stock numbers show how successful her brand is. Meghan's entire project is about controlling the narrative through aesthetics, beautiful images, lifestyle aspiration, the promises of elegance. Wharton's job is puncturing the balloon and insisting the Empress has no clothes, or in this case, wick. The collision of the two worlds is well worth watching. Genuinely, Tom, I was shocked by the candle. I really was. Clearly I was shocked by the fact that it had no wick. But I'm a candle guy, right? I love a candle. It's sort of one of my pleasures. And I never thought I'd be a candle guy, but I got into my 40s and all of a sudden it's like, there's nothing nicer than I do, spend a little bit of money. I won't go out these days, but I'll buy a nice candle. Do you know what I mean? Like a Joe Malone candle, a Labo candle, and it lasts for ages and ages. So I like a candle. I was honestly shocked by how cheap this was. I mean, the fact that you can even, you should not be able to do this, by the way. You could never tip up a Joe Malone and it would just come out. So that's clearly why there's this issue with the wick. But honestly, this is meant to be, I think, the one that smells like their home. Yeah, it is. The scent of their house. Water lotus, sandalwood, California poppy. Honestly, it smells like soap. It smells like soap. And it's really cheap. Really cheap. So I mean, obviously the fact that it has no wick is astonishing, and the same thing happened to Link Laurent. Now, I'm not for a second, by the way, trying to suggest this is some type of conspiracy and it was my fiance who bought it through eBay, so I don't even think that would be possible. I think it shows that a hell of a lot of these candles are being sent out without a wick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the overriding impression is that it's just a really chaotic operation. So, I mean, whether it's candles being sent out without a wick, or jam jars shattering in the post, or not being enough stock, or being like massively overstocked, or all the details being available online, it's just like where's the attention to detail? Who is keeping an eye on this? Who's monitoring this? And as we know, everybody's left. So I mean, it's questionable at this point. I mean, I suspect it's all just being franchised out to some operator, who is doing the job.
Of course it is, but that goes totally against everything she said, which
Yeah.
was that, it's going to be, my personal products is going to be high quality. And yeah, they wanted good price points, but it's not, I mean, that's not a cheap candle. $65
No,
is
it's
not a
not. And
cheap
as you say,
candle.
I mean, if you bought a diptyque candle or a Jo Malone candle, it certainly wouldn't fall out of the pot. So
Yeah.
but like, hey, she wouldn't be the first person to whip up a load of rubbish and stick a crown on it and hope that she'd be able to sell
Mm.
it. So I mean, it's a well
Well,
it's a
look, the
well
stock
established
numbers show
path.
big ambition, but what this means, Tom, is that we're going to be seeing a hell of a lot more craziness over the course of this year, right? Because these products don't sell themselves. These Instagram posts don't sell themselves. So she's going to have to get out there, and she's going to have to get out there internationally if she wants to move this stock. So it sort of makes this idea that Meghan's just going to slink away this year, I think, for the birds. But Tom, look, thank you for writing about it. It really made me laugh. And of course, I fully recommend everyone signs up to the Royalist. I quote it all the time because, of course, Tom does his reporting from outside the Royal Rota, which I believe is a really important thing. So Tom Sykes, thank you so much. Great to have you. We will speak next week.